Welcome Primary 5, with you is Miss Noura Abdurrahman, and today we are going to start lesson number 1 from concept number 1 from unit number 2. Are you ready? Let's go! If I leave a pen from my hand, what's happened? It's falling down to the earth. Okay, why everything on the earth is falling down? Do you remember? Excellent, because of the gravity. Do you remember what is the gravity? What can you remember from gravity? The gravity, it's a force inside the earth that's pulling everything down. So there is a force inside the earth pulling everything down, which is called gravity. What is the gravity? The gravity, it's a force that pulls objects to the center of the earth. Where is the center of the earth? Here. Here we have the core of the earth. Inside the earth, if you can remember, there is crust, mantle, outer and inner core. The outer and inner core, they are the center of the earth where the gravity exists. So the gravity exists in the center of the earth, which is the core. So what is the gravity? The force that pull objects to the center of the earth. Again, it's the force that pull objects to the center of the earth. And the gravity all the time, it's pulling and not pushing. Pulling means attract. Attract, that means that the gravity is attracting everything to the center of the earth. So we can say that the gravity also, it's the force of attraction between objects. The gravity, it's the force of attraction between objects. So now we have two definitions for gravity. It is the force that pulls the objects to the center of the earth, and also it's the force of attraction between objects. Okay, how does the gravity affect the movement of objects? Okay, let's talk about the skydivers. Do you know the skydivers? They are people who jump from high places like airplanes. Okay, what happened when they jump? They pull down to the ground. So why they are pulling down to the ground or why they are falling down? Because of the gravity. So the gravity, it's the force that pull all the objects to the center of the earth. Number 2, we have the planets that revolving around the sun. We know that in the solar system we have a sun and 8 planets. And the 8 planets all the time they are revolving around the sun. Okay, why these planets they are not go away on the space and they keep revolving around the sun in a fixed orbits? Because the gravity of the sun. Oh my god, that means that the earth it's not only the only planet that have gravity. The sun also has gravity. Yes, guys. Any object has mass has gravity. Okay. The planet or the sun, which one has more gravity? Of course, the sun, because the sun has more mass. So the sun, it's the biggest thing in the solar system and it has more mass, so it has more gravity. So it can attract or pull all the planets and make them revolving around it. So again, the force of gravity of the sun keep all the planets revolving around it in a fixed orbit. What's the meaning of fixed orbit? Can you see that each planet has a circle to move in? This circle is a way which the planet move in around the sun, and it's called orbit, and each planet has orbit to move in. So again, the force of the sun gravity keep all the planets revolving around it in a fixed orbit. Number 3, the gravity of the moon. Oh, the moon also has gravity? Of course, the moon has gravity. Okay, the gravity of the moon, it's affecting the ocean tides. Do you remember the tides? The high tide and low tide in the intertidal zones. Okay, the high tide and low tide, they are happening because of the gravity of the moon. The moon is keeping revolving around the earth because of the gravity of the earth. The gravity of the earth all the time keep the moon revolving around it. Okay. So why the moon is attracted to the earth and the earth is not attracted to the moon? Because the earth is bigger. The earth has more mass than the moon. So the earth is attracting or pulling the moon. When the moon is revolving around the earth, it's affecting the oceans. The ocean attract when the moon is passing through the earth or around the earth, It's attracting some of the water of the ocean. So what's happened when the moon, right here, what's happened? It's attracting the water a little bit, so the high tide is happened. And when the moon leaves the place, what's happened? The low tide is happened. So when the moon pass on a part of the earth, the high tide is happened, and when the moon leave it, the low tide is happened. So the gravity of the moon can affect the ocean tides. The high tide and the low tide, it's happened because of the gravity of the moon. So again, the gravity of the moon affects the ocean tides. The gravity of the moon affects the ocean tides. So now we know that the earth has gravity, the sun has gravity, and also the moon has gravity. Here we can see the ocean tides. Here this is the high tide, and that means the moon is very close to this area, so the water is attracted to the moon and the high tide has happened. Here this is the low tide. And also look into this picture. Can you imagine that this picture is only from one place? Here from high tide and here from low tide, and this is because of the moon's gravity. So give reason here, in the basketball game, each time the ball is thrown into the air, it's falling down to the ground. Why it's falling to the ground? Because of the gravity of the earth that pull the objects down to the center of the earth. Okay, let's see here. Here we have a girl on the slide. What's happened to this girl in the presence of gravity? The force of gravity is pulling the girl down and move on the slide. Okay, without gravity, what will happen to the girl? The girl will not be held on the slide and the girl will fly and the slide will fly. Okay, let's see the second example. Here we have the moon, which is revolving around the earth all the time. Okay, in the presence of gravity of the earth, what's happened? The force of the earth gravity pulling the moon, so the moon still revolve around the earth in a fixed orbit. Okay, without gravity, what will happen to the moon? If there is no gravity of the earth, the moon will float into the space away from the earth. So without gravity, the moon will float into the space. And the gravity can affect the objects even when they don't touch each other, like the moon and the earth. Do the earth touching the moon to attract it? No, it's not touching the earth. Do the gravity touch us to pull us? No, it's not touching us. So the gravity can affect the objects without touching. And it's also invisible force. We cannot see it and it's not touching us. And also there is a gravitational attraction or a gravity force between the earth and the moon, as we say it, and the moon stays in a fixed orbit around the earth. Why? Because the gravity of the earth pulling the moon. Now let's talk about the two factors that affecting the gravity. We have two factors. Number one, we have the mass. Number two, we have distance. Let's start with mass. How do the mass affecting the gravity? When the mass increase, the gravity increase. If you have two objects, one is light or has a small mass and the other has a bigger mass, which one will fall first? Of course, the heavy object or the big mass object will fall first. Why it's falling first? Because when the mass increase, the gravity increase. Again, when the mass increase, the gravity increase. So if you have two objects or two poles, one has bigger mass and the other has a small mass. Which one will fall first? Of course, the bigger mass object or the bigger mass pole. Why? Because it has more mass. Okay, which one has more gravity, the Earth or the Moon? Of course, the Earth. Why? Because the Earth has more mass. And when the mass increase, the gravity increase. Okay, tell me also, which one has more mass? Which one has more gravity, the Earth or the Sun? Of course, the Sun, because the Sun has more mass than the Earth. So, when the mass increase, the gravity increase. And when the mass decrease, the gravity decrease. This is the first thing. Okay. What happened if the mass of the moon become twice its real mass? That means if the mass of the moon increase, what will happen? If the mass of the moon increase, it will has more gravity, because when the mass increase, the gravity will increase. So when the moon has more gravity, it will pull closer to the earth, and it might even crash to the earth, like we can see here. The moon will crash to the earth and the earth will be destroyed. Number two, we have the second factor that affecting the gravity, which is the distance. When the distance decrease, the gravity increase. How's that? Okay, if we are in the second floor and our friend on the third floor, the gravity on you will be more, or on your friend? The gravity on you will be more. Why? Because you are closer to the earth and you are closer to the gravity, so the gravity will pull you more. So when the distance increase, the gravity decrease. Again, when the distance increase, the gravity decrease. As you can see in this picture, we have object number one and object number two. Which one has more gravity? Of course, object number one, because it is closer, or because he is closer to the earth. So now, when the distance increase, the gravity decrease, and when the distance decrease, the gravity increase. So now we talked about two factors, mass and distance. When the mass increase, the gravity increase. When the mass decrease, the gravity decrease. What about the distance? When the distance increase, the gravity decrease, becomes smaller. And when the distance decreases, the gravity increase, because it's closer to the center of the earth. Okay, now what happened if the distance between the moon and earth become twice? That means that the moon go farther from the earth. What will happen if the distance between moon and earth increase? If the distance increase, the gravity will decrease. So what will happen? So the gravitational attraction between them will become smaller. With you was Miss Noura Abdurrahman, and thank you for listening.